Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Eternity, Captivity Book 3 by Sarah Biglow and Molly Zenk, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Aiden. Xander and I strolled through tall rows of sweet-smelling crops waving in the breeze. I'd grown used to the sky above us changing colors with the sun. It was so bright, even brighter than the light Micah let off, and warm. How we could feel the warmth through the protective dome still baffled me, but I had decided not to question it. The Guardians and Lycans had built this place to keep themselves safe, and that was all that mattered. "What are you thinking about?" Xander asked, lacing his fingers between mine as we walked. "How much I want to fly," I replied without thinking. He made a show of looking around us. "I don't think anyone will stop you." I pulled him close and kissed him. "Fly with me." "I thought you'd never ask." We disrobed amidst giddy laughter. There was nothing like the first time we'd flown together. There was no hiding our existence. It was just pure joy. He grabbed me and held me close, pressing our naked bodies against one another, a promise of what was to come. Just as I felt the stirrings of arousal, he pulled away. Skin melted into feathers, and he took off like a shot into the air. I followed suit, welcoming the change as it slid through me like water. There was no tension or resistance to taking on beak and wing. My heart sang as I relished the feeling of freedom. I flapped my wings twice and was airborne in seconds. This was truly what happiness felt like. We darted through treetops, wheeling on the warm swells until below us I spotted a wolf racing from the brush below. It let out a howl that called to the human part of me. A warning. I swooped down, landing on the soft grass before letting the skin and bone take over. The wolf changed too, becoming a lithe young girl. She had dark brown eyes like so many of her people. The markings on her face, red like blood around her cheeks and mouth, were fresher, maybe only recently applied. "The siren, you must come," she said, tugging on my arm. "Lorelei?" I prompted. "Come, hurry!" Behind me, Xander landed and shifted back to human. I looked at him. Find Douglas, now." Xander sprinted off, forgetting his clothing as I pulled on my pants and shirt. The girl paced nervously back and forth as if she were eager to return to all fours. "What's your name?" I asked, trying to calm her down despite my own panic mounting. "Luna. Please, come." "Where is she?" Douglas boomed, cresting the hill. Luna led us back into the woods and toward the river that ran through the heart of Sanctuary. Douglas trotted faster, outpacing me as we darted through brush and ducked under low-hanging branches. I skidded to a halt when I spotted Mel's sitting beside the riverbank. Her hands were rust-colored and something lay in her lap. Lorelei was slumped against a pile of clothes, motionless. The grass and the skin of her legs was angry and red, as was some of the water. "What happened?" Douglas rasped. "It came too early. She thought the water would help, but he's not breathing and she won't wake up," Mel's murmured. Douglas stood immobile, gawking at the baby in Mel's arms. Luna remained silent, shifting from foot to foot. We didn't have time for this. We needed to act now. I rushed forward and took the baby from Mel's, cradling him close to my chest. I looked to the others. We need to get her back to the medical area now. If we don't, we will lose them both. I'd never run so fast. My heart hammered in my chest as I looked down at the tiny life in my arms. Lorelei and Douglas's child was on the verge of turning blue when I slammed through the outer doors to the medical facility. "What's going on?" Serena asked, appearing from a doorway. "He's not breathing. He came too early. Lorelei's right behind us. It looks like she has lost a lot of blood," I said in one breath. She reached for the newborn, but I couldn't relinquish him. "Tell me what to do," I said. "Lay him down. We need to warm him up and clear his airways," she said. I followed her into one of the empty exam rooms and laid the baby on a clean blanket. My fingers trembled as I rubbed the infant's skin, praying silently for him to be okay. Slowly, he regained normal color and one tiny hand moved against mine. "Hang in there," I whispered, bending low and let a few of my tears escape to land on his forehead. I rubbed them in while Serena wasn't looking. The tears helped. He began to move more freely, but he was still struggling to breathe. Serena appeared at my side and ushered me aside. She placed a small suction device over his nose and mouth. With a soft whoosh, she expelled fluid and mucus, and at last he gave a hearty cry. "Help!" Douglas's voice echoed in the hallway. I didn't have time to feel relieved about the baby. We still had to help Lorelei. I wrapped the baby in the blanket and nestled him in the crook of my arm before following Serena out into the hall. Lorelei continued to bleed, and she was deathly pale. Douglas was panic-stricken. His hair was matted to his head with sweat, and I could see his hands shaking. Mel's trailed behind him, and Luna, her gaze fixed on her hands. She was shaking her head and muttering to herself. "Bring her in here," Serena ordered. I could see a crowd gathering at the entrance to the medical facility. Constance, Micah, and Xander appeared in along with Hunter. They could wait. I placed myself in Mel's path, forcing her to look up when she bumped into me. "He's okay," I told her, and showed her the wriggling newborn. Mel stared at me and the baby glassy-eyed for a minute until the baby let out a howl. She blinked and broke out into a wide grin. I passed her to him, and she held him gently to her chest. "You gave Auntie Mel's a scare," she whispered against the top of his head. Hunter burst through the doors, trailed by the rest of our group. "What is going on?" "Lorelei had the baby early. She's lost a lot of blood. Serena is with her now," I answered. "Show me." I led the way down the hall to the room where they'd taken Lorelei only a few days ago when we first arrived. Serena had a device pressed to Lorelei's belly, her brow furrowed in worry as she studied something on the screen beside her. "Please, you have to save her," Douglas pleaded. "The placenta ruptured. It's why she's lost so much blood. I need to deliver it, but I can't do that if she's not awake. Her body doesn't seem to respond to what it needs to do." I bit her. She was in so much pain I thought it would act as an anesthetic, Mel said. "Using doxy poison in that way is dangerous. You could have paralyzed her," Serena said. I was trying to help her," she looked at Douglas. I swear." "Maybe Phoenix tears can help these things along," I volunteered. "She's saying not to waste them on her," Douglas said with a hiccup of bitter laughter. "I'll help too," Xander offered. "I might be able to give her something to counteract the poison and get her body to remember what it needs to do. But she will still need a transfusion," Serena continued. She held up a hand before I could speak. "You just got the blood graft out of your system. Besides, I don't think she needs shifter blood." "Then what does she need?" Constance asked from the doorway. "Mundane blood," Micah supplied. Before any of us could object, Hunter settled beside Lorelei's bed and rolled up his sleeve. "Let's get to saving her then." Douglas's eyes brimmed with tears. "You would do this for her? A stranger?" "Our people have accepted you. You are no longer strangers. Go. Be with your son. We will do everything we can to save his mother." Mel stepped forward to hand Douglas the baby. He accepted the boy's weight effortlessly, the sadness and worry in his eyes momentarily replaced by the utter joy of meeting his son. "Hello there, wee bairn. I'm your daddy. I will always be there to protect you, no matter what." After kissing the baby's head, he bent low to kiss Lorelei's forehead. "Come back to me, Medell. Come back to me." Chapter 2. Lorelei. I opened my eyes, not sure what I expected to see. I stared at the white panels of the ceiling and let myself slowly adjust to consciousness. A monitor beeped somewhere off to my left, and my arm felt sore. I looked down, noticing an IV taped to my skin. What happened? I rewound my mind back to collecting firewood with Mel's. How long ago was that? Yesterday? Today? Days ago? Going into labor caught me off guard, and the baby! I sat up, the room spinning from the motion. Once my equilibrium righted itself, I scanned the room for anything that could help me figure out what had happened to the baby. Mel said it was a boy. Was he even alive? My gaze found Douglas sleeping in a chair across the room. He cradled a swaddled bundle in his arms as if he didn't dare let it go. I saw a tiny hand pop out of the blanket and wave around before the bundle wailed for, I'm not sure what. Comfort? Food? Me? Were they real or a trick of my imagination? "Douglas?" I tried to call out, but it sounded more like a whisper. He started awake before rubbing his eyes with his free hand. He noticed the baby was crying before he noticed I was awake. There now, Bairn. Douglas rocked the little bundle to soothe him. I'm here. I promised I wouldn't leave you, and I haven't. Are you hungry? Here now, let's find you some grub. He rummaged around in some sort of baby supply bag under his chair and pulled out a bottle. He brought the empty bottle to the sink, all the while cooing to the baby in his arms. Douglas scooped some powder into the bottle, added water, put the lid on, and shook it. He replaced the cap with a bottle nipple and swiveled to return to the chair. In that same instant, he noticed me sitting up, watching them. His face paled before the bottle fell from his hand. Lorelei? Are you really awake? Medea, I've wished and hoped for this moment, and now... Are you real? Am I dreaming? I thought I might be dreaming too. I put a hand on my throat. It was sore from lack of use. Are you real? Douglas smiled. I am. He bounced the baby in his arms. We are. Do you know we have a son? That's about the last thing I do remember. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to untangle some of the knots. Can I hold him? He's hungry, Douglas warned. I was just making a bottle. I gestured at my swollen breasts. Hey, I'm a one-woman milk factory here. I think I got the food thing covered. Douglas crossed the room and handed the squirming baby over to me. Someone had changed me into a hospital gown sometime between the woods and now. It was open in the back, but also had hidden slits in the front to make breastfeeding easier. I closed my eyes, trying to remember how the younger Siren sisters were nursed. A hazy memory came to mind of the time when my life was still my own. Before the academy, PLA, and everything that came with working for the government. It was the happiest memory I had up until now. Don't worry, little one, I whispered to the baby. I know what to do. I adjusted myself in bed until I was sitting cross-legged. I put a pillow across my lap and laid the baby on his side facing me. This way, I didn't need to lean down and he didn't need to reach up too far. He latched on almost immediately, sucking with a strength I didn't expect from someone so little. I winced. Dougie, slow down. Dougie? Douglas pulled up a chair next to my bed and sat down. Short for Douglas? You named him after me? I thought you'd like it. I grimaced as Dougie pulled so hard I was sure he'd leave a bruise. Douglas, I know our relationship wasn't in the greatest of places before. It was my fault. I know that. I've always known that. I just didn't know how to fix it. The one good thing about fighting with you is it gave me a lot of time to think. Tears glittered in his dark eyes. The worst moment of my life was when they told me something was wrong with you and the baby. I know you can be difficult and intensely private. That doesn't bother me. When I dream of the future, you're always in it. In that instance, when Hunter and the others said we might lose both you and the bairn, my world shattered. He raised my hand with the IV to his lips and pressed a kiss to it before letting go. I want you, Lorelei. I want our family. What do I care of titles or labels if you're not here to share my life with? I took a ragged, emotion-heavy breath. I love you. I love you, Douglas. I should have told you so long ago, but I was stubborn. I didn't know how much of me was tangled up in you until I thought I had lost you. I'm sorry. I wish I had realized that sooner. It would have spared both of us a lot of heartache. Douglas kissed my hands, then my forehead, and finally the top of Dougie's head. Erthiolach, that is all I need to be happy. I'll be a better girlfriend, I promised. Just promise to be patient with me, okay? I'll be patient, Douglas agreed. We have all the time in the world, my duo. I scooted over so there was room on the bed for him to join me and Dougie. Once he did, I rested my head against his shoulder. Arhailach. I attempted to pronounce the unfamiliar Gaelic words. What does that mean? Douglas tightened his arm around me, his fingers resting on my hip. Our family. Arhailach, I repeated. I like that. Our family is all I need too.